Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. It's happened again. Someone's found out or heard from someone else that I do repairs to electrical things. What can I do? I'm not going to say no. I can't say no. It's a real issue for me. I need to get back and see my therapist. I had a lady bring in this lamp. It's quite a pretty lamp. I forget what brand she told me it was. It's a fairly modern one, but it's got an issue with the cord. And in fact, it's got an inline switch, and the switch looks like it's been trodden on. There's not much left of it, totally broken up. She loves the lamp. She asked me if I could repair it. I said, yeah, sure, I could do that. Might even do a video on it, which means it'll take me twice as long. But hey, you guys get to watch now. Righto, let's work out our plan of attack. Luckily, I save a lot of these cords, and you'll often hear me say, I'll keep that lamp cord because I use them. I do. I'm about to. Let's go and have a look at where we're going to start and our actual plan of attack. Okay, well, it is only the switch that's broken, and the wiring actually doesn't look damaged, but these switches aren't really designed to be replaced, although I think you probably can buy them with 4 screws that you can take apart. Most of them you find are totally molded. I have been able to get into them before when I've done a quick repair, but I think the easiest way in this case is to forget about trying to replace the switch and just replace the whole cord and plug and everything, because I do keep a lot of these and I've got plenty spare ready to go. I've also just noticed that the shade's quite loose. I think it's the whole fitting that's quite loose, so we might as well try and fix that while we're here. So I'm just reaching underneath to undo the collar. All lamps are slightly different, but they mostly follow the same construction. There's normally a collar that holds the shade on, whether it's a traditional type shade or one of these decorative ones. This is a little plastic collar. The shade should now lift off. And it's very dusty. We might even give it a bit of a wash just to present the lamp a bit nicer when we give it back. It's all sort of that added value. People appreciate that service. Yeah, it takes me a bit longer, but I'd rather present a good job and keep people happy. Right, so there is a little bit of movement in that fitting. Not too bad, but of course it's amplified by the shade. Now, to replace the cord, we've got... goes through a little protective grommet. We have a metal frame, so we need to make sure the protective grommet's still there. You don't want the power shorting to the metal, and it doesn't have an earth wire, so that's the double insulated really. You've got the insulation on the wire, and then you've got the plastic type grommet, which is the second layer of insulation, so you need that there. There's a little clamp here with a Phillips head screw. There's a heavy cast iron weight just to give the lamp some stability. The actual lamp body itself is metal and it's very thin. Now it looks like copper. It won't be, it's just a copper finish. We'll see if it's magnetic. Yes, it is. So it's just a steel top and middle. It's just a steel body with some decorative plastic type beads really. They look like they're fractured. I think that's the look they're going for. I don't think these are actually have been broken. But even if the fracturing's not supposed to be there, it doesn't really matter. They still seem quite solid. Alright, so I'm going to undo that clamp. We don't need to worry about undoing the actual nut because I'm not going to take the base apart. But once we undo the clamp and we can feed some wire through, then we should be able to undo the bottom part of the light socket and lift it right out so that we can get to the terminals. Okay, let's put a towel on the bench so that we don't scratch anything and it stops it rolling around. We'll alter the camera a bit. There we go, that should be all right. Now, we'll undo this clamp. Now, all lamps are slightly different. Some have a base over them that you have to peel off. It might be glued on. Others have a panel that you can remove. So that clamp just provides some strain relief to stop the wire being pulled from the light socket. The little grommet there's quite loose actually. But we need to feed some wire through so that we can poke it up the stem when we loosen off the light fitting. Right, now the base of these normally unscrews. I'm just not sure how this one works. It appears loose on the bottom section. It's not the normal standard light fitting that I see, so I'm not sure if it just unscrews. There is a stick around it that says it has a maximum 25 watt globe, so we'll try and leave the sticker on if we can. There we go. I think the sticker was holding it. Oh, okay. Looks like that fitting's broken too. It has some more issues than I thought. I know it's not. It's just a weird Edison. It's a miniature Edison screw, and it's threaded in the plastic, and it just pushes down. The center contact pushes on that, and the side of the threaded part touches on that. I haven't seen one of these fittings before. They look pretty flimsy, to be honest. Anyway, that should lift out now. We've got enough wire free underneath to pull that up. There we go. And there's a couple of little screws where our wires will connect. So yeah, that looks a bit gimmicky, but I guess it works. It's not broken, but it did look like it was. Alright, so now we can undo these screws. I think I need a smaller Phillips head. That's that one. And that one. And the wire should pull out. They have little brass clamps over the ends of the wires. But there's our two terminals, so nothing is broken there. We don't have to worry about marking which side is which. Light globes aren't affected by polarity at all, so we can put them back whichever way they seem to want to go. So we need that bit to screw back. So now we can pull this wire right through out of the lamp body. Remember to salvage our little grommet and pull it through the base. So that wire now may as well just go in our scrap copper wire bin. We can cut it off from the switch there, cut the plug off this end, cut the remains of the switch away. So we get a little bit of bonus value on top of our repaired charge for our copper wire bin. And the plug and the remains of the switch will go in my e-waste bucket. Now to find a cord. Okay, I found a suitable cord. I have quite a large box of them. Mostly all the same. Some of the switches are a little different. Some of them have a different length between the switch and the part that goes to the lamp. This one should be fine. If you are repairing your own lamp like this, and it's, as you can see, it's fairly easy to do, the best way is to find a switch and a cord, and it's by far the easiest to replace that rather than trying to fix the switch, is just to go to a local charity shop and find a lamp on the shelf with a similar cord, and if it's cheap enough, just buy it and pull the cord out. Or you might find that lamp's even better than the one you're trying to fix, you never know. Now, you also do have to be aware of a couple of things. Make sure your replacement, because it is second-hand, make sure there's no nicks to the cord, the switch works properly, nice and clear, definite clicks, no cracks to the casing. You don't want to be fitting a cord that has a safety issue. And of course, make sure the plug's okay. You don't need an earth wire for these little lamps, but replace it with the same type of cord as you have taken off it. The other thing you have to be aware of, and I don't want to preach here, but I've had people have a go at me over the years for a video I did on how to rewire a plug. And yes, you do have to check your local laws, because some places it is actually illegal to do your own electrical work on these portable things. In Victoria, in Australia, it is perfectly fine. You are allowed to do your own wiring on portable devices. You're not allowed to do wiring, hard wiring on your house or anything, but you are allowed to replace a plug or replace a cord on a lamp. But you do have to check your local laws, because Queensland, for one, as far as a state in Australia, you're not allowed to. Some of the other states have some slightly different laws, and overseas, I don't know. You would have to check your local laws. So anyway, if you can display some competency and consider my videos training, and if you're reasonably handy, I'm sure you'll have no worries. And as long as your local laws don't forbid it, you're perfectly fine to repair your own lamps. So now, first thing to remember, before we feed it through, put the little grommet on, because how many times has everyone done something, think they've finished, and then find they've left something out and have to pull it all apart again? I think we've all been there. So now we can feed it through from the outside. The grommet will slip in afterwards. and we can feed it up through the middle. Now, because we're using a cord off a lamp already, it has the little brass sleeves over the wires. If you're using a cord that you've had to cut down and there's no brass sleeves, twist them both together to be able to feed them up the stem, otherwise you'll find they'll catch. Sometimes it's still difficult to get them through, and you might need to put a piece of string down from the other end and tie it on and pull it back up, but this has come through nicely, and it looks like we're going to have plenty of wire. So we'll pull that through there. I'll try and keep this in shot so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we've got all the parts on the wire that we need. Next, we've got to now connect this part. I don't think there was any other bits that it had to go through first. And as I said earlier, there's no polarity concerns with a lamp. So whichever way it sits nicely, poke the wires into the terminals, and we'll screw those up firm, not super tight. If you do them too tight, you're going to start to guillotine the wires, but they do need obviously to be not loose. Now I actually have it so that the active is to the center pin on the globe and the neutral is to the outer part of the globe, but you know, that's probably the preferred way to do it. But as far as lamps go, generally there's no polarity issues. Okay, so that's wired on. We can now poke that back down the tube, or pull it down from the bottom. It must sit in this base here a certain way. But remember, we still had a little bit of looseness in this base, so before we attach it, let's see if we can tighten that up. Looks like there is a nut at the top. We can't really get in there to do that nut up, but possibly doing the one at the bottom will just hold that a bit firmer. So I'll try some pliers here. We can't really get a spanner on here very well, but the pliers should work. And yes, that does seem a little loose. So if I hold the end, we should be able to just nip it up a little bit to stop that wobble we had. Now we're ready just to pull the wire back through and seat the fitting in the bottom of the assembly here. It must be a locator somewhere in here so it drops down neatly. Yes, it can only go one way, and then it seats down there. Then we can screw the top back on. We've still left the sticker on because that's important, because a lot of lamps have a wattage rating to stop people putting well, it doesn't stop them, but to advise people not to put a higher rated globe in, because a high wattage globe generates a lot more heat, and a lot of lamps aren't designed to handle the heat, because it can actually deform the plastic and melt shades and all sorts of things. There we go. So that's reassembled. The sticker's still fine on there. I did pick up a globe. I didn't have one of these globes to suit handy, so that should screw in there nicely. We'll just test it before we put the shade back on to make sure everything's working properly. I'll plug that in through the appliance tester and turn it on and give the switch a flick. There we go, fantastic. So we can now take the globe back out and put the shade back on, which I gave a bit of a wash, so it looks much more sparkly now that it's not dusty. And now that the collar's tight, it's all together. So it's not too bad. I think it's less wobbly than it was before. It's just a flimsy design, I think. The only other thing we have to do is just neaten the wire up at the bottom here, pull it back through. We have to put the clamp on underneath, and we just have to slide this little grommet into the hole where the cord goes through. And there we have it, guys. One lamp with a new cord, well, a new second-hand cord, nicely repaired and even clean. And if we turn it on, there we go. Isn't it pretty? So I'm sure the lady will be rapt to have it back in operation. It's safe, it's fixed, it's ready to go again. The only other final thing I'm going to do to it is just where that grommet goes through the bottom case there. It's very loose. It's just a poor design. Well, the design's okay. It's just poor manufacturing. I'm just going to hold it upside down a little bit, and well, I'll prop the thing upside down, and I'll just squeeze some PVA glue around the edge of the grommet just to kind of glue it to the metal base. It'll stop it falling out. It'll give a little bit more secure insulation where the wire goes through. So there we go. Job's done. Didn't take all that long. Took me twice as long because I filmed it. But I'm just going to charge the lady a token amount just to cover some of my time. And it was $6.50 for the new globe. It really hurts to buy new globes. So anyway, I'll just add $5 onto the price to cover the globe. I'm sure she'll be happy. And another repair job out of my shed. And we also got a little bit of bonus wire for our scrap bin. So nothing's going in the bin, which is good. And we get a little bit of extra return. I do like doing these little repair jobs. They're the sort of jobs that no one does. And if you take something like this to any repair shop, they'll say, throw it out, buy a new one. But because I guess it's a matter of if someone's paying a repairman wages, it's just simply not viable to repair this stuff where you can go and buy another lamp for $20, $30, $40. I've charged the lady 20, well, I will charge the lady 20 plus 5 for the globe. It's not really worth it for me either, particularly when I film, because it takes a lot longer. But then again, you know, I like to tinker in my shed, and I could do a job like this really in about 15 minutes. So I guess that's not too bad a value. Plus, it didn't cost me anything for the spare parts because I salvaged them from stuff that was being thrown out. So I don't know. I think it's better if your laws allow for it that we can fix our own stuff. It's not hard to do, as you can see, and it just saves stuff from going out to, you know, into the waste stream when it shouldn't. This is pretty much as new now, and I'm not sure what she paid for it. It probably was in a giftware shop, and it might have been fairly expensive, I don't know. But for another 20 bucks plus 5 for a new globe, it's going to live again. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that repair. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.